Yo ho ho! What's going on, boys? This is Grim Reaper bringing you One Punch Man, a 198 review. We're trying to get the reviews rolling again, so let's start off with this one. I do want to apologize, or kind of, this has to do directly with the review in the chapter. So, in the live reaction, we kind of got like focused on like the troll that we have going on in the community with the debate between Atomic Samurai and Flashy Flash. We got a little involved with that, and some of the guys like felt that it kind of ruined our perception of the chapter, or ruined like us reading the chapter in general, our experience of reading the chapter in general. So taking that into serious consideration, even though it's clearly a biased troll, I did a reread, and I felt like I definitely I definitely missed something that I use in an argument against somebody, and I want to clarify that because it's an important part of the chapter. So, one of the reasons why I was really defensive about the chapter 198 in general is because I didn't necessarily like in the first iteration of this set here. I didn't necessarily like the equation, or how one decided to equate Sonic's current power level with Flash's current power level. The fact that they were fighting at that in the manner in which they did, the circumstance of the fight, how the fight went about itself, the encounter with Empty Void, it made it seem like these characters were just everywhere in terms of capabilities in reference to their previous accolades. One Punch Man isn't a series where we have like weird, crazy, broken power scaling at every single instance. It's pretty consistent for the majority of the time. So to see something like that with a mainstay character, it was odd. This is I can prove this, or this is supported by the fact that we see the growth of other side characters throughout the story, whether it's in flashes, whether it's in single individual panels, throughout different arcs throughout the story. Moomin Rider is a case in point of this. We've seen Moomin Rider throughout his stages of growth, whether it's in side chapters, whether it's in the Deep Sea scenario, whether it's recently in the Monster Association arc, and now he was able to assist with helping people as well. We're seeing the growth in the different instances where these characters are gaining in strength, or at least having pivotal moments of growth. Lightning Max is another case. It's another point. Case like almost he almost epitomizes the example of what I'm referring to. He faces Deep Sea King and he gets demoralized. Like it was a devastating fight. He put up as tough a fight as he could, but it wasn't enough. Deep Sea was a great threat and probably one of the strongest or most impressive demons that we've seen in terms of a cinematic display. We don't really get to see demons that do that. There are sure plenty of stronger demons. The majority of demons are stronger than Deep Sea King, but the display that he got is almost bar none compared to even dragons. So to have Lightning Max get that first experience, and then the next time we see him, it's against Shiryu, and the character himself references that previous encounter with the current obstacle that he has, and he does a clear, well, not that one, do a clear job of showing what this character's goal is and how he's reaching it. We're seeing the entire path, like what the incident is, what the catalyst is to start this journey of growth, the things in between, and now the final goal. So this is kind of like an obstacle in between. He's saying that, hey, if how well I do up against Ryu is going to determine how well I would do, or I could reflect upon the Deep Sea King scenario, because Ryu was emanating a similar aura, a similar presence. I think this is the exact same scenario for Sonic here. One and Murata are trying to justify or show us where Sonic has reached in terms of power, and I think I misconstrued that by the fact that Flashy was around in the chapter, and that it was a really good opportunity to clown Flashy. Because the fact of the matter is that the only way, or the method in which One and Murata are using, or have decided to use, in order to display and better detail the improvements of Sonic, is by having him go up against Flash, an individual who we've seen display his capabilities and his skill extensively in the previous arc, whether it's with the ninja fight, or whether it's running around with Saitama, or whether it's in the engagement with Platinum Sperm and Awakened Garou. So we've seen a lot of the capabilities. I would even say we know pretty much all of what Flashy can do. Maybe one or two things he's holding in there, but we've seen him fight pretty well to the full extent of his capabilities. So to have Sonic fight him, not only because they have commonalities in their past in terms of them both being ninjas and aesthetically their fighting styles, not only like that, but this character is almost a template of what we wanted Sonic to be in the beginning. I don't want to make that like I don't necessarily like hold like any weight to that, just grain of salt with that statement there. I'm not saying that there's any comparison or that like Sonic is what Flashy is supposed to be, or Flashy is what Sonic's supposed to be, or anything like that. No, they're two different characters with completely two different storylines. I'm just been pointing out that the potential that we saw, or the promise that we saw in Sonic, in the beginning of the storyline, Flashy now has to the point that he's now leading the God storyline. So it was difficult for me, or it is difficult for me to just turn a blind eye, or I need more detail, more instances, more examples of Sonic going through turmoil to really justify that he's at this point. Now, the point of contention here is the Saitama statement, right? So the Saitama statement is as follows. They're so tiny, smaller than grains of sand. Literally showing us that the comparison is that he's, just as was mentioned previously, Sonic had gone after Saitama so many times that all the different ninjas or all the different individuals that he had fought along the way or that he's going to encounter along the way are nothing compared to him, because his goal was so much higher. His goal, what he's trying to attain, what he's comparing himself to, what he's striving after is so much greater than what their pinnacle is, what even their prime would be. That is no comparison. He sees them as nothing. The problem with this is that there hasn't been 100 years or like 10, 30, 40, maybe there has been like a week or two, but like it hasn't been an extended time period since the end of the arc. The arc took, I think it was like one day, a day and a night, like, or all night, I think it was, just all night. Like, right before the arc started, the hero invasion arc is what I'm referring to. We had seen the two ninjas confront Sonic and humiliate him, like even out of their dragon forms. Like in the dragon forms, they completely managed him, but like even out of it, they were competing. So like, for me to believe that the failure with the monster cell and all the different like instances of him going after Saitama in between those 2 points, that's enough to get him to reach this level now. As far as I can tell, this is the only evidence that we have. The strongest evidence that we have is that because he's gone after Saitama so much, this is why he's at this level now, which is fun. That's a good enough justification, but I need more to say that, hey, this is justifiable. Don't get me wrong. It's not like Flashy Flash like was dying, bleeding like the entire fight. He chose to go out full power in one instance in the fight, but the rest of the fight, it wasn't like he was slouching around. We actually saw some new moments of nuance from Flashy Flash in the fight. One instance was whenever he was like flicking his blade around, like in this panel here, where he's flipping his blade around and like just to show like a show of bravado, like, hey, yeah, I'm ready, like, let's do this. Like, my skills aren't just nothing or whatever. Like, we know he was into the fight. We know he tried. We can't take anything away from how Sonic performed in the fight. Like, Sonic displayed his abilities, held himself professionally, I guess is the right way to put it. Like, he did great. So, like, what we should take from this instance is that I agree that Sonic is improving and growing, and this wasn't necessarily an instance where we could deprive from Flashy Flash. But it does show that somebody like Sonic has grown. We don't know exactly why. You can't just tell me arbitrarily that this is the reason when we haven't seen those examples. All we know is what he did up against Saitama in that certain time period. If that makes you grow exponentially, there's a lot of characters who that could be the case for. Sure, I just want to see it. This is not a side character. Like, Sonic was part of the main cast. He was part of the main cast. We were seeing him in all the different instances in the beginning of the storyline. Then we get into different arcs and different people become more relevant. But in the whole of the storyline, he's still supposed to be part of the main cast. And when I say main cast, I mean characters who are going to show up and be more relevant around Saitama more often than others. Watchdog Man, for example, he's a side character, just like you could technically categorize Sonic as a side character, quote unquote, but his relevance in the story is nowhere near compared to Sonic. Nowhere near compared to Sonic. Sonic's a mainstay. I want to see more of the development along the way. We got to see whenever King sucked up his pride and tried to ask all these different masters for trainings where he could actually become stronger. We get to see the development of King from when he was like being petrified with the encounter with G4. Him accepting the fact that he's lying to people, trying to use that as like proof or taking advantage of the fact that people think that he's king or whatever. Him accepting the fact that he's not, even going to the extent of like after being forced into these crazy scenarios, literally doing what he could, helping to save Wakanda or whatever, doing what he could, like. I want to see it. That's kind of my complaint. I want to see it. I don't just want it to be like, hey, you ate this monster cell. Hey, you were like going to the Saitama a bunch, and now you're at this level now. Like, no, like I want to see more, and I hope it doesn't happen for other characters, because as much or as strong as the rivalry between Genos and Sonic was in the beginning, we got to see the different things that have made Genos force his upgrades. There's been no upgrade that we haven't been able to account for. Every single one, from the arms mode, switching all the way to upgrading immediately after facing Face Ripper and Awakened Cockroach, because he then encountered Goketsu. Like, we've seen everything along the way, bro. Got to upgrade after he fought Goketsu, and then ended up probably using that to fight EC. Like, put out the new armor set in the new arc or whatever to bust EC, like a Dragon Killer type shit, bro. Like, that's what I want. Every single upgrade that Genos gets, we know why he got it. We know it was because something happened in the past. Like, he even has a moniker of like the whatchamacallit, the Glorious L, as it were, as people were dubbing it in One Piece. Whenever, like, I think it was Jack, whenever the character Jack first showed up from the Beast Pirates, Kaido's Beast Pirates or whatever, like, he wasn't necessarily winning his fights, but he was taking beastly L's, as they call it. So, like, it's the same kind of instance, right? Like, I want to see more beastly L's from Sonic. Yes, we got some. Yes, they were up against Saitama. Yes, that's what they're using to claim that he's so strong. I get it. I understand that. But I want to see more from different obstacles and different people. Hell, even show Sonic showing out, right? People were so hyped about Sonic and how he like was able to evade Deep Sea King, because it showed the great potential that he has. He's missing some, and he could use some power or whatever. But that was a great part. And like, he has potential. He's not there yet. We're gonna see his growth. You know, we skip it. I don't like that. I didn't like that at all. But I'm glad that we kind of condensed the whole backstory for the ninjas. There was a black guy there, a black instructor with like a mohawk thingy, so it's kind of out of place there in terms of like what the aesthetic is, because this guy was buff too, and all the ninjas that we see, they don't necessarily seem buff. So I'm wondering what kind of people they have as instructors there. But for the most part, the chapter was fun. The fight itself was very, very good. The fight itself was choreographed very, very well. Murata does this thing where he pays attention to the position of where blades are, like how you're gripping things, the natural motion that would actually happen. He draws them in that positioning. Like, sometimes you'll see pictures in manga or different panels in manga where a character's in a position where you're wondering, how did that happen? How did you get in that orientation? Like, and it's difficult to understand what happened. The author skipped too much in the motion. Moreta doesn't do that, especially in fights. He's showing you the exact translation of motion, whether it's lines of motion, whether it's the character in that particular in a particular position with the background showing speed lines and the character vectoring in a certain direction. That gives you a clear interpretation of what's going on in the actual panel. Like, Murata does an exceptional job of not skipping instances in a fight and showing you the natural progression of the fight in its entirety. That happened in this fight. I don't like skip fights. I don't like fights that are off screen like One Piece does. I don't like big impact moments that are then switched to a different fight like that. Like, unless it's done well, because the surface fight was done well. But like, this fight was choreographed great. The when they clash with their wind blade kicks, that was spectacular. Not spectacular enough to even be made into a thumbnail. I forgot. There's another panel. There's been a few panels in the manga where we've gotten detail like this, and it's not just flashy flash. I think not Puri, even though Puri gets crazy detail. It's not the Puri scale, in my personal opinion, but it looks very, very well done. All in all, man. Oh yeah, the sword fighting choreography. What I noticed, and is the whole Atami versus Flashy argument, so I gotta bring it up again. But if you notice the choreography in the panel that I have on the screen right now, you'll see like how they're going back and forth, slashing and blocking. I love the fact that we're seeing, like, again, the progression of every single sequence of attacks. Like, We're seeing Flashy block the attack that Sonic initiated. We're seeing Flashy initiate a counter and Sonic dodge. We're seeing Sonic attack from after that dodge and having Flashy having to maneuver. We're seeing that in the sequence of panels. Like, that's what I love. We're seeing every single clash there. Like, that's exceptional fight choreography, bro. That's what you need, bro. Drop a bunch of these other manga that can't do it right. We need to popularize this, because whatever we popularize, the rest of the industry will copy. We'll start to get manga because we'll understand that, hey, we're not looking for, off-screen fights because it's going to be in the anime. We want you to do it here all the way to the full extent. We want to see every single panel. We don't care how long it takes, bro. Like, get more money, bro. Just get more money. That's what we want, bro. But it's still not as fast as Atomic Slices, so I don't know what I want to tell you, bro. Like, it's just not as strong as Atomic, man. Aside from that, bro, the chapter was good, bro. The dialogue was held to a minimum in the beginning of it. That's exactly what we wanted. The shurikens that were drawn for Sonic were drawn really, really good too. I love that. The Flash Fish, that was badass. Bro. It reminded me of Genos' machine gun blows all the way up and down, and then the panel where he actually lands and continues to hit him. It looks badass. It showed some of Flash's strength that he used to slice through the ninjas. Like, cause you need a lot of power to do some of the things that Flash does, and granted, the speed that you have is gonna produce a lot of that power. Not some speed. But the fact that he's still doing this stationary, bro, the fact that this is just him producing that power, we can't take anything away from Flash. He's strong, but that nigga's strong. He's not that guy, but he's strong, bro. And this was a badass display to flip back, bro. That's one thing that Flashy hasn't lacked. He does look cool. He makes shit look cool. It's feminine, feminine is F, to the point where I wouldn't necessarily choose that aesthetic if I was a character, or if I was in the verse, or if I was even a ninja. I would not have the same aesthetic as Flashy, because it is a little feminine. But he hasn't failed in this chapter. He didn't fail to hold out and to show that hey, I can still put on a pretty good fight, even though I'm not going all out for the entire time period. The ninjas in the background, I think they still fall flat, and this kind of really dampens my hopes for the vampires, because Pure Blood, we got an implication that Pure Blood, there may be more vampires that exist, because he's one of those natural born monsters. I think his dialogue even alluded to there being other clans of vampires out there, and he's one of them, one of the great families, something like that. But whatever the case may be, the fact that this genre of fighter, as it were, this class of fighter, as it were, has been relegated for the most part being fodder, or off-screen fodder for two prominent characters, I don't like that at all whatsoever. There's so much potential in elaborating upon this class of fighter, and I'm not saying one that doesn't have the chance or opportunity to do this in the future, as well, in the future, even with this unraveling, how it's going to unravel, I'm not saying that, but it leaves you with a sour taste in your mouth on the first impression. So what else is that going to be the case for? Is that going to be the case for other Ugmons? Are the Ugmons that we would have or will potentially see in the series in reference to a Mind Mass as well? Are they not going to be as entertaining? Are they going to be fodder? Are we not going to see a champion Ugmon? We're kind of getting a champion ninja clash with Empty Void. I guess you would consider it there. But I wanted to see a variety of dragon classes. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Or instances where we're getting sufficient time to observe demon and dragon class fighters of level fighters of those particular classes. So an Ugmon, a vampire, a ninja. We got some more samurais that exist, or at least people that are students of the samurai way of fighting. Tank Top doesn't really count because you get that all the time. Maybe more martial artists, but we kind of got that in the super tournament art. So we're getting that. It's not even it's something that's obscure, that it's crazy for us to be speculating upon. We're already getting that. One, and we have to already elaborate upon classes of fighters and show us different things. Case in point, the super fight tournament. That's what that was. So I'm disappointed that this class of guys, not only did they have silly names and they were trolled the entire time, but they haven't really put up a serious thread. I don't necessarily take them serious. In the previous iteration, I don't remember if they did in this iteration. In the previous iteration, they like clown the two Ninja Bros. Like it's, I don't know, bro. Whether it's for the sake of time, whether it's the fact that it's not that relevant, whether it's for the sake that, whether it's because it would have dragged on the chapter. I don't know what it is, but I feel like we're missing, or I'm missing justifications for why certain characters are at a certain power level, or I think we've skipped instances of displays or combat displays that I would have loved to see. I would have loved to see more of Sonic encountering different monsters or different obstacles that he's beating easily because he's going after Saitama. Like, not just what we're potentially going to see here. I would have loved to see Sonic fail more times going up against Saitama in more intricate, in more complicated ways. I would have loved to see him clash up against Genos more. Like, I get that we can't see every single hundred of times that it's happened because it would take up the entirety of the manga. I get, these probably aren't even like 100% credible complaints. Like, I get what we're doing. I just want more for Sonic. I guess I can tell me what I'm trying to say. I want more for Sonic. Aside from that, Caped Mountains at it again, bro. I love these displays. Like the video, subscribe. We're gonna be on the next one. Yo ho!